Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Talking Villanova Football. Head coach Mark Ferrante. We're live at the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill in East Norton, PA. I'm Steve Pannone, and Coach, I guess we'll go back to family weekend. Wildcats with a 49-7 win over the Bucknell Bison. I guess it all starts well in the first play of the game. You get a turnover and you get a chance to get a short field for your offense.
Yeah, I think our guys were real anxious to get back on the field from the week before. We had a real good week of practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Guys seemed really locked in and focused on Friday's practice as well. And, yeah, it started out great. We kicked off to them. First play from scrimmage, Jafonte Johnson wrapped up the back for about a 4-yard loss. The ball came out, and Brian White, our nose guard, was able to recover the fumble and gave us great field position for the offense. And, you know, about 4 plays later, we punched in the first one, and then it just kind of steamrolled from there. I think we scored on our first 4 possessions, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we ran a total of 13 or 14 plays to get those 4 touchdowns. So, real good start, 28-0 at the end of the first quarter, and our guys came out to play, and they definitely, seemed focused when we hit the field.
We talked here last week about you're going to find out a lot about your team coming off a loss. You say, we'll find out what kind of team we are come Saturday. What did you find out about your team?
Well, I think they were resilient the week before. What I did see in the Towson game, that kind of steamrolled us. We had that same quick start. It was 14-0 our favor, and then a couple plays here and a couple missed tackles there, and next thing you know, we're trailing 35-14. But our players really hung in there, and we got within 7 twice in the second half in that Towson loss. And even though we came up on the short end of the scoreboard, I think our guys really learned a lot about themselves, and I think what we learned the way they bounced back against Bucknell was they had something to prove, and I think the maturity and leadership of our team took us into the Bucknell game after that tough loss against Towson in a good way.
And Bucknell did struggle offensively. They have all year. But defensively, they're a pretty strong team. You guys were able to put 49 points up. We talked last week you wanted to see more consistency in the running game. Were you able to get that established?
Yeah, we wanted that balanced attack, and as it turned out, it couldn't have been much more balanced. We had 302 yards passing and 307 yards rushing. So we ended up with over 600 yards of offense, real balance in both run and pass. We were able to get turnovers. The only down part of the thing is we balanced out their turnovers. We gave them 4 while we got 4. So we had 3 interceptions and a fumble on that opening play, as we just mentioned. Unfortunately, we fumbled the ball back to them 3 times and threw 1 interception. So that balanced itself out. And then the other thing we focused on with the team was the third down conversions, both offensively and defensively. We wanted to do a better job getting off the field than we did in Towson. They converted too many third down situations against us. And then on the offensive side, we wanted to make sure we could keep our drives going. So I believe we were 9 for 13 in third down conversions for us, our offense, which is excellent. And then I think we held them to 2 of 13. So that was something that we did talk about during the week and focus on, and our guys came out and executed in those situations as well.
And you went into the game offensively. You're a little bit banged up. Bell was out. Gratton's out up front. Kirkston ended up getting hurt in warm-up, so you had to rely on your depth that we've kind of talked about all year. Talk about what you did on the offensive line with Gratton being out, and then what you guys did at the wideout spot with Bell and specifically Kirkston and Hodge being out.
Yeah, we moved some guys around. We took our left side of the line, Louis Chazar and Ethan Greenidge, the guard and tackle respectively, and bumped them down inside one man. So Louis was the center. Ethan ended up playing guard, and then we put Kofi Api in there as a left tackle. So that's kind of how we worked it out with Gratton not being able to play. And then from the wide receiver position, knock on wood, we do have some depth this year, and Chango is not able to play. And then, as you mentioned, Kirkston, ironically enough, rolled his ankle in pregame warmups. And Josh McGrigg, who we're going to hear from a little later tonight, had a great day, had a career day. And, that's what you hope happens. You hope when a guy who maybe hopes he gets a few more opportunities along the way, finally does get those opportunities, makes the most of it. And we'll be talking to Josh about some of the plays he made on Saturday from the wide receiver position. He's been holding down our return game really well in the punt and kickoff returns, but it gave him a great opportunity to get more targets from Zach in the game. And to say the least, Josh made the most of those opportunities.
Coach, in the fourth quarter, you're up. You got an opportunity. We talked a little bit about this new red shirt rule where you're allowed to play guys in 4 games and still declare them a red shirt for the year. They don't lose the whole year. In the fourth quarter, you got a chance. I saw specifically three of your young offensive linemen got an opportunity, some young guys on defense. Does it help to get a little something on tape for these guys, even if maybe they're only playing 1 or 2 or 3 games all year, that they can take that to the spring?
Yeah, no doubt. There's no substitute for game repetitions. No matter how long and how fast you try to practice, it's not like the game. So getting those guys an opportunity to get in the game and get some reps under their belt is invaluable moving forward. And the other great thing about it, as you mentioned it when you opened up the show, it was family weekend. So a lot of our guys, especially our younger freshmen, had their families here and their parents were here. So an opportunity for them not to just be here and see their son after they dropped them off in preseason. Sometimes this is the first opportunity they've had to visit with their families, but to see them get a chance to play, that was awesome as well. So it really worked out from that perspective.
Coach, we're going to take a quick break. We'll finish up on Bucknell in the next segment. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Coach, we're here coming back from the break. We hear about one of the 4 turnovers that your defense forced during the game. Hey, let's talk a little bit about your defense. They give up 7 points, but really on a short field. The one of the turnovers that we had gave them the ball on the 12-yard line.
Right.
The one time Bucknell was able to put it in.
Yeah, I think our defense was really locked in and ready to play this game. Like we said the week before, one of the things that Coach Trainer and the defensive staff emphasized was better tackling. We missed a few too many tackles in the Towson game. And, again, you got to give your credit to your opponent. I mean, part of it is they have some skilled guys that, make plays as well. So, but our guys came out and we did a really good job. We had a lot better tackling. Our guys were more sure in their fits and things like that. And then we got the 4 turnovers in our favor. And like you just said, that opening drive to get the ball at the 20-yard line sets up the offense pretty well. So our defense came ready to play, to say the least. And there was some good physical contact out there on the field on Saturday. Yeah,
and the opportunities I've had to talk with Coach Trainer, he always talks about getting takeaways, trying to give the offense a short field. As you get into CA play now the rest of the way, you're going to go against some pretty strong defenses. It's tough to go 80 yards on some of these better defenses in the league. So if you can get 3 and outs and get turnovers and give your offense some short field with some of your explosive players, it obviously make it a lot easier on Zach and the rest of the guys.
Yeah, they've done a good job with that. Joe talks about the 3 and out thing all the time, try to get our defense off the field. It's funny because at halftime, Dean always comes up, and Dean Kennefick, and he always hands me the stat sheet. And I don't really pay that close attention to it, but I did look at it at halftime. And in the game against Bucknell, in the first half out of the 30 minutes of time of possession. They had it for over 15 minutes, so we were 14 and change. And by the end of the game, I think we had it for 23 minutes of the second half to their 7 minutes. So more 3-and-outs from the defense, so more time of possession for us. The plays in the first half were almost equal. Now, we did have some big plays and some short fields, so we didn't have to run a ton of plays, but we were both right around 35 plays each in the first half, us and Bucknell. As it turned out, we ended up running 80 plays to their 51.
We talked a little bit about an offense, some of the guys that were out and were missing. And at one point in this game, Rob Roll was out with injury. Julian Williams was out with the targeting penalty. You had 5 new defensive backs that didn't play last year out there on the field late in the first quarter. So talk, I guess, of some of the versatility and the youth and the experience that some of those guys got last year. Talk a little bit about your backs.
Well, the defensive secondary is doing a really nice job, and we have some first-year players that have really stepped up. Christian Benford had an interception. Elijah Trent had another interception. He had the big interception.
We always say, he's like Chris Carter, the opposite. All he does is get interceptions. Every time he comes on the field, he gets interceptions. Obviously, the huge one against Temple early in the year.
He plays the fewest plays, but makes the most plays. And then Jaquan Amos. Now, Jaquan, you can almost put him in the returning starter category with how much he played last year. But he's only a sophomore, and he only played about half the season. So even though he did have some significant snaps a year ago, he's still not an upper-class starter like you mentioned with Julian and Rob Roll and the guys that graduated. So, it's been real good to see Terrell Vassell come and develop. It's been really good to see, Daryl McDaniel, DMC, come and develop. And there's a lot of good skill in that secondary. They're long, they're lean, they're athletic, and some of them guys will really come up and support the run really well and do that as well. They'll be physical. So, and they're going to need to be this week. They're going to need to be physical this week. So, really pleased with the progress of our secondary, not just the returning veterans, but the young guys that have come in and picked things up in a great way.
And just to kind of conclude, Bucknell, the special teams, obviously you got Drew 7 for 7 on extra points. Your kickoff and punt game, you felt confident. I thought your coverage teams played well, and obviously Nathan did a good job kicking off and punting.
Yeah, Nate had a great day punting. Now, fortunately, we only punted twice, but he had a 47-yard average. Now, had the Bucknell guy not hit one for 71 yards, he probably would have won the net punting battle, but we ended up losing the net punting battle in that game, which is something that we try to strive for because that's a change of field position stat, right? And his kickoffs, he had a couple more touchbacks again, so Nate's doing a great job as an incoming freshman on the kickoffs and the punting. And then Drew, we know the mishaps we had in the first couple weeks with the extra points and the blocked field goal that ended up being a scoop and score against Temple that allowed them to get back right in the game there right before halftime. But he's been, like you said, 7 for 7 on the extra points this past game and 5 for 5 the week before. So it seems like we have that part of it squared away. But it's not just him all the time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, everyone kind of focuses on the kicker, but you have a new holder and a new snapper this year.
It's a three-man deal. So it's the execution of all three of them doing their job and doing it the right way. And, the snapper has to do with the timing of the kick as well. And, we did have one get blocked a little bit off the edge, but Drew had enough foot behind it to put it through the uprights, even though it got partially tipped. So, that he had a good strength behind that kick as well.
And, Coach, I know you guys don't do it this way as coaches because you break it down to, next Saturday, but you finished the non-conference 3-0 for the first time since 2009. I know it's kind of not a goal of your guys, but you got to feel good about what you did in the non-conference play.
Yeah, whenever you can do that, that's awesome. But, we talk about it all the time. I know you have heard Jay, and he talks about it all the time. We want to go 1-0 the next game, and with our situation, we only have one game a week. So, the thought process is, okay, now that we got that behind us, now let's get to 1-0 this week. And that's always the mindset. So we're hoping we can, come out. We had a good day of practice this morning. Guys seemed pretty focused. We're out there in a little bit of the rain, which, hey, you got to prepare for that because you may have to play for that in that as well. So guys had a good practice today, and we just got to continue to build and improve tomorrow.
All right, Coach, we'll take a quick break. We're going to be back with Darrell Young, a former linebacker here with the Wildcats from I think he was probably 2010 to 2015. I think he graduated, but a great linebacker, went on to a great NFL career with the Washington Redskins. So we'll be back with Darrell after this. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talk of Villanova football. Head coach Mark Ferrante. We're back here at the Green Turtle. And, Coach, all good quarterbacks can call an audible, right? Yeah. So we're going to go to Josh McGrigg. We're still trying to get Darrell on the phone. So we're joined by sophomore wide receiver Josh McGrigg. Josh had obviously a huge game for you Saturday, Coach. Talk a little bit about your wideout.
Yeah, Josh had a great game, as I stated earlier before he came up. I think Josh had 5 career receptions in his first 2 seasons with us. And, again, it's not because anything about Josh. It's just that, the rotation we have it wide out and when he's in there, when he's not in there, so on and so forth. And he ended up having 5 receptions this game alone for 187 yards and a touchdown. And I'm sure you're going to bring it up, Steve, and I'll let Josh talk about it. But he did set a new Villanova record for the longest pass completion for a touchdown, 90-yarder. For our third score of the game. So that was awesome to see.
Well, Josh, what I was thinking, you caught the ball at about midfield. You got 2 guys chasing. Are you thinking, I can't let these guys catch me, my teammates will kill me? You made that beeline to the corner. Talk about those last 50 yards after you pulled it in.
Oh, definitely. When I was telling Coach early, when I caught the ball, I just put my head down and I just had the open stride, and a lot of times the team not gonna let you have it when you get caught on plays like that. So I knew at that very moment I had to open it up and I had to score that touchdown. So. Hey, I had to open it up on that one, so I was like, hey, I'm going to get it. They ain't going to let me live it down if I don't get this one.
Hey, Josh, don't give away the playbook, but what kind of route did you run, and what did you see? And you looked like you split the 2 safeties?
Yeah, so the Bucknell runs a type of defense where they play aggressive down on the safety. So what we did was we put in a post route where we could get over the safety. So, I saw the safety come down. I knew right then, that if I can get over the safety, then we could have a play. So that's what I did. I got over the safety, and lucky enough, it was wide open for me.
And Zach delivered a great ball, dropped it right in.
And one of those things, when you run a pattern like that, you obviously need time and protection. So the O-line obviously held up well for Zach as well.
No doubt. It was a deep throw, and Zach did a great job putting that in stride, and Josh did the rest, obviously. And at one point, it almost looked like a guy was going to either grab him by the back of his collar or by his hair. He's got those long dreads sticking out the back of his helmet. It almost looked like a guy was reaching to try to grab that at one point, but then Josh veered off to his right and then got over to that right pylon, and that was a huge play and just a big momentum swing for everybody, just to keep that early momentum that we had from the first couple scores, just to keep that going. So Josh did a great job. And Josh, you're also handling our return game.
Yes, sir.
Kick returns and punt returns, and you're doing a great job there. Why don't you talk to the folks here a little bit about that as well? How do you view that? How are they different, and so on?
I know during practice during the week, Coach Flynn, we detail a lot about catching the ball, and we do definitely talk about getting the offense a lot of good field position. So I know that's one of the big things that I focus on being a returner, not just trying to score every time or anything like that, just trying to put the offense in a position where they can have good field position when they come on the field. So I think that's really key to my return game and helping those guys. So.
Yeah, we talk to you about that all the time. Here's what we talk about from the punt return aspect of things. First of all, secure the ball and secure the possession, because, sometimes, and Josh is doing a great job at this right now, sometimes you see those ones that maybe you could have caught, but then you let it hit, and then it gets that extra 20 yards a roll. So those are hidden yards. And Josh has done a great job fair catching at our own 10, which I believe he did on that play on the punt they had right before his 90-yard touchdown. And then there's, so that way you're not on your own 2-yard line because they were able to down it inside the 10 or something like that. And then the other thing we tell Josh on the punt return game is, if you can get a first down, a 10-yard punt return is a good return.
Exactly.
And then our goal on the kickoff is if we can, try to get the ball as close, if not past the 30-yard line. That's pretty good starting field position on the kickoffs. And Josh has been doing a great job learning that part of the game, as well as obviously having a big day at wideout for us.
Josh and Coach talk about learning on the day. Did you return kicks in high school, both punts and kickoffs, or? Yes,
I did return kicks in high school. Actually, my junior year, I was actually all-state kick returner. My junior year in high school. So the catching the ball and things like that, kind of came natural to me. But understanding the game, like getting the offense good field position, understanding the little details, those things, kind of came to my experience once I got to college. So.
And after running 90 yards, I'm assuming you ran track in high school?
Oh, of course. Track was matter of fact, track was definitely a big thing for me in high school. because, you know, keeping my speed up. I wasn't a very big guy in high school, so, you know, keeping my speed up and being able to be a fast twitch guy was definitely big for me in high school. So that was definitely big for me.
No doubt, no doubt. And, you know, it's funny, and I stated it earlier as well, you know, you never know when your opportunities are going to present themselves, right?
Exactly.
You know, Josh has been a rotational guy at wideout. We're going to rotate guys into that position all the time just to keep them fresh because they do the most running anyway. But then, you know, Changa couldn't play. So Changa was one of our top couple receivers with Ryan Bell. Ryan Bell wasn't in the game. Josh and Kirkston are probably going to split some time at their position.
Exactly.
And then Zach rolls his ankle in pre-game warm-ups. So there you go. Josh gets all these extra reps, and next thing you know, he doubles his career receptions with 5 and almost 200 yards of offense. So what you never know when it's going to be called.
Exactly,
right?
and I know those guys. Big shout out to those guys because we do. All three of us hold each other accountable. No matter where we are on the depth chart. I know all during camp, you know, we would tell each other like, you know, we got to do this, we got to do that, and I know all during camp, the receivers in general and Coach Flynn held us to a big standard because he told us during camp that we could be something, you know, something special as a group. So, you know, all during camp, we held each other accountable for things like that. So I know it's no surprise to us that we started doing this now, but, you know, we definitely held each other accountable for things like that.
And Josh, I wanted to ask you one thing because you're doing two things now. You got an opportunity at wideout to play a lot of snaps on Saturday, and you're also in a return game. Break down your week a little bit. How much time you spend with your special teams units? How much time you are with Coach Adams, and how much time you with Coach Flynn and the wide receivers?
I think definitely, you know, even you know, before this, you know, after practice I would catch kicks. You know, before practice I catch off the jugs. You know, after practice I catch kicks. So, you know, it's definitely a balance with everything, and I'm definitely watching a little bit more film this week than I am usually. So, you know, things are just starting to pick up a little bit, but, you know, not too much because, like I said before we was catching passes off the jugs. You know, receivers catch passes off the jugs before practice, and then the returners will catch after practice off the jugs, also off the kicks. So, you know, things are starting to pick up just a little bit, but not too much.
And they do a ton. Like we have probably, if we have 22 periods in practice, it's roughly almost 2 hours. 24 periods would be 2 hours. So out of those 22 periods in practice, each period being 5 minutes, 5 of them are devoted to special teams. And because of Josh's involvement in special teams, he's pretty much involved in all those periods, you know, whether we're doing punt return, whether we're doing kickoff return, so on and so forth. The couple times he might not be in the mix so much is if we're doing our kickoff coverage team, but then he's back there catching for that anyway because he's going to get the extra reps in catching the ball, you know. And then the wide receivers, probably more than anybody, you know, they're out in the field earlier. Them and the specialists are always the first ones out to the field, and as Josh said, they're always getting on the jugs machine and catching passes pre-practice. Afterwards, you know, I'll stay out there with them a little bit, and we'll feed them some kickoffs and some punts off of the jugs machine and those types of things. So Josh has really started to mature, and it's as much of a mental maturation as it is physical, because he's always been quick and good hands and, you know, understanding how to run routes and those types of things. Now he's getting those finer points, the nuances of the game. You know, the one thing Josh and I were talking about just in the punt itself, you can tell when it's going to sail or when it may come and drop down. If the ball's going up in the air and the back point of the ball is low and the front point's high and it stays that way, it's going to drop down. If it turns over, like the long pass, it's going to carry. And to say the least, that one carried.
It carried a long way.
That 171-yarder that rolled out on that 2-yard line.
Yeah, we were saying he was probably, unfortunately for Bucknell, I guess when your punter is probably your most valuable player, it's a tough night for you. But the kid did a fine job kicking the football for them.
Definitely.
He's a good punter.
Big shout out to that dude.
Yeah. He's a good punter. He's one of the top punters in the country from a year ago.
You can definitely tell it.
Yeah,
you can definitely tell it.
And Josh, I want to ask you, I guess wide receivers by their nature are confident people because there's a lot of one-on-one confrontations, you and backs and things. Obviously, there's different coverages where you get doubled in zone coverages, but just talk about the opportunity you get. Now that you're pulling 5 catches for 187 yards, it's got to help you leading into this Saturday, knowing that it's one thing that, you know, Coach Flynn's working with you, Coach Ferrante's working. You went out and did it. You know you can do it. So I'm sure you got to feel that. Take that to practice all week and take that to Saturday.
Yes, sir. So definitely thing is, my biggest focus this week is just to basically focus on the game plan, just like last week. The game plan is going to speak for itself. Our job is to go out there and execute it. So that's the only thing I'm really focused on is perfecting the game plan this week and just going out there and perfecting it as good as I can, just like last week. So that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, we tell these guys all the time, focus on your role. Focus on your assignment. Focus on the small things. Take care of the details. The big stuff will happen if you're taking care of the details. And needless to say, if he'd have run that route a little shorter and maybe came in front of the safety instead of getting behind the guy and so on and so forth, it may not have been the same result. So we always tell the guys, focus on the details, take care of the little things, let the big things just come to you. And if they continue to do that, and Josh has been doing a great job with that with all of his, we already talked about his pre and post practice preparation, that's going to carry over into Saturday's game. And now Josh has probably a little more confidence in himself, not that he didn't have it before, but now to go out there and, like you said, actually do it in a game to the level that he was able to do it at this past Saturday, that's just going to help moving forward.
Well, Josh, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Congratulations on last Saturday, and best of luck this Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. This is Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. One of the 4 Wildcat turnovers on the day as Jaquan Amos ran it all the way down to 1 to give you about as short a field as you can get on the football field.
Yeah, I know he was hoping he would have got into the end zone himself and got a touchdown, but, gave us great field position. We scored on the next play.
Coach, we're joined by one of your former players, a man who spent 6 seasons in the NFL, mostly with the Washington Redskins, Darrell Young. Darrell, you with us? Great, Darrell. Thanks for joining us. And, Coach, tell us a little bit about Darrell's got a great story. But start with him, I guess, coming out of high school and where he came from and what's he doing Saturday. He might want to go back home.
Yeah, Darrell's a Long Island guy, Amityville High School that we, Coach Trainer went up and recruited Darrell out of Long Island. And he came and played for us at linebacker for his first 3 years. And then right around the time Darrell was playing with us, all this bubble screen stuff really started to come in vogue, all these little short passes to the slot out in the perimeter and so on. And So Darrell, his senior year, moved to our spur position, which is a strong safety. So a 230-pound linebacker is out there, and there's a small X-receiver trying to block him to lead for the bubble screen. So Darrell just ran those guys over like speed bumps and had a real good senior year as well. And then he ended up going to the league, and I'll let Darrell talk about that here in a minute, but most of his career after being a defensive player for us was on the offensive side of the ball. He was mostly a fullback in the NFL. So Darrell, great to have you on. We'll talk about that. I'll let you talk about your defensive situation at Villanova and how you converted over to be a special team / fullback in the NFL. Yeah, you were fun to watch on TV, and they would throw you some passes out of the backfield, and you weren't just a lead blocker. You would get the ball and score a few touchdowns along the way. How many career touchdowns do you have in the NFL? Do you know offhand? Oh, there you go. There you go. Lucky number 13.
Coach, I heard an interesting anecdote. Who threw you your first one, Darrell? How about that? Donovan McNabb when he was with the Redskins. Everyone here in Philadelphia doesn't remember those years with the Redskins.
How about that? How about that? So that's awesome. So as you know, Darrell, and I'm going to switch gears before we talk about what you're doing now with the NFL and so on, but, Long Island guy, and we're going up to Stony Brook. We haven't played them in 3 years, but Stony Brook, how far away is Stony Brook from where you grew up? 42 minutes. And did they recruit you? Oh, there you go. Right. There you go. So that's awesome. Now, why don't you just tell everybody what it is you're doing now? Because when you and I touched base earlier in the year, you said you still may have had another playing opportunity to, continue your career on the field. Is that what we and I talked about? Right. And so you're traveling with this new position. What are you specifically doing with everything? Okay. So who hired you, I guess, is the question I'm asking. Are you okay, yeah. Right. Gotcha. So So if you're responsible for 8 teams, then I'm assuming there's 4 of you doing the same thing to cover the whole league? Yep. Gotcha. Well, I'll give you one last thing before we go to our next break, and you just mentioned small world stuff. Unfortunately, Troy Vincent Jr. Picked up a fumble on our kickoff against Towson and scored a touchdown against us, and that kind of steamrolled that game. So I don't know if Troy was at our game or not, but I don't know if he mentioned that to you, being knowing you're a Villanova guy.
Hey, Darrell, can you hold on? We're going to take a quick break. We're going to bring you back after the break if you could hold on. So we'll be back with more with Darrell Young after this. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're joined by Darrell Young. Darrell, I have a quick one for you. Now, I don't know if this is urban legend or not, but I was told when you were with the Redskins and you were trying not to be a linebacker, you were in the defensive meetings and the guy did like a roll call and your name wasn't on the list, and they said, no, you're on the offense. Is that how you found out you were going to become a fullback?
They came in and said, hey, Coach Shanahan wants to see you. So I went up to Coach Shanahan's office. I walked in and said, hey, are you okay? I said, I just don't understand what's being cut. I've been back for an hour. I don't get it. And I said, I just want to let you know you need to make the team as a linebacker, so I want to be a fullback. There's one fullback, and here's the opportunity. I said, well, I don't even know why you brought me either. Tell me that. So, for some days, waiting to excitement.
Yeah, that's good. You never want to see when the Turk's coming by to give you that, hey, head coach wants to see you, bring your playbook conversation, right? And
but Coach, maybe you could speak to this, but it obviously says a lot about Darrell. There's a guy who's been a linebacker his whole, I want to say adult life, but since he's come to college, and then you're going to become a fullback. And some guys, no, I'm not a fullback, I'm a line. But he says, you know what, there's an opportunity, I'm going to take advantage of it,
right.
And he turns himself into a 6-year pro.
Right. Well, truth be known, we liked him on both sides of the ball. and we would have taken him as a running back as well. We did work him a little bit. When Darrell was with us, he did run some short yardage fullback for us. We brought him down from the defensive end of the field to work our short yardage goal line package on offense from time to time when he was there. So we liked him on both sides. It's just that when we did have Darrell in our program, we just needed him more on the defensive side of the ball at that time, and he excelled at it. And like I said, he could have done either or, and it turns out he obviously could have done either or at the next level as well. So Coach Trainer did a great job communicating with Darrell and recruiting him off of Long Island and bringing him to our program. And Darrell made the most of all the opportunities he was presented. I know he played some special teams. He played defense and started out that way and then ended up on the offensive side of the ball for the bulk of his NFL career. So, Darrell, I guess I have a question for you. What do you like more, offense, defense? If you had a preference, what would you prefer to play? Better to be the guy delivering the hit, though, as opposed to the one getting hit, though, right, from the defensive mindset? Right. Right. Hey, now where were you this weekend? Did you travel to one of the teams that you have to cover this past weekend? Right. That is good.
And Darrell, where are you making your home base now? Are you out in New York? I know the NFL office is in New York. Are you based in New York?
So you're back on the island. Where are you going to be this weekend? You going to come to our game at Stony Brook, or are you going to be out of town? Yeah, that'd be great, and obviously we'd love to have you down. I know you and I talked about this before. I'd love to have you down to a home game at some point if you can fit it into your schedule. I know you're busy traveling around.
Darrell, talk about, do you have the ability to keep in touch with some of your former teammates from Villanova?
Now, did Salim just recently get engaged? And where's Harv? Where's Brandon at? I knew that. Yeah, he's done a great job with that because he was a match, wasn't he? Yeah, he was a match through Coach Talley's program, and I know that he's been running on that. I've seen some of that stuff on social media, and that's how I saw Salim. I saw his picture there, and it looked like he proposed on his football field. Well, that's good, man. That's good to stay in touch. Coach Talley used to always tell you guys that, and we still say the same thing today. You're going to find some of your closest friends and, best men in your weddings and so on and so forth during your college years, and you guys have definitely done that.
you see the student athletes on the field and know what we learn as well. So.
Exactly right.
Well, Darrell, we really appreciate your time tonight. We look forward to seeing you up on the island on Saturday, and congratulations on a great NFL career and what you're doing now to mentor these young players and turning them into pro men as well as pro players. So best of luck, Darrell. We'll catch up with you on the island on Saturday. We're going to take one more break here. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Yeah, Coach Venuta broke out the option here on Saturday.
Yeah, it was good. We saw some things there that, their corners got a little antsy on the perimeter, and that one play that we just heard, there was really nobody out there down the sideline. Once Zach pitched the ball to Adeyemi, there was no one in 30 yards in front of him. So he scored that touchdown. And the good thing about last week's game is we scored 7 touchdowns, but 6 different people. So, there's a lot of different weapons on the field, not only in the passing game but in the running game as well. So that was exciting. I think Forbes is the only one that scored twice. Everyone else had a single touchdown, and it was good to see. It was good to spread the wealth and have other guys making plays for us.
And Coach, now get ready to head up and take on a 3-1 Stony Brook team. They beat Richmond over the weekend to go 1-0 in the CA with a 36-10 win. And we're talking option. This guy's a little bit more smash mouth. They're going to try to run it. And you mentioned before we came on maybe 85-15 or 80-20. So obviously run defense is going to be a huge factor in this ball game.
Run defense is going to be big time. There are 2 running backs, number 33 and number 23. I don't want to mispronounce their names. Are the 2 leading rushers in the league. And they both had a good game this past weekend. And they do run it. Chuck has been up at Stony Brook for a long time. Chuck Priori, the head coach up there, and his brother's the head coach at Penn, Ray Priori. And he's a former O-line guy, and he is a ground and pound type guy. And he's going to, there's going to be times where there may be 3 tight ends on the field. So, I mean, it's almost at times, even if it's a first down and not a short yardage situation, you could have more of a short yardage formation. But then they will spread it out. They're going to throw the ball, too. They did score some passing touchdowns as well, and they have an aggressive style defense. But they're going to hang their hat in the run game. And, that's their strength. And fortunately, our strength for our defense is defending the run. At least that's what it's been traditionally over these last few seasons. So, their strength should match up pretty well with our strength, and we'll see who can go out and execute at a better level, because that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to be aggressive and stop the run, because that's what they're going to try to do. And then you got to be careful for the play action, because when you have a team that runs the ball as well as they do, I'm pretty sure they average 240, 250 a game.
It's against 237 to be exact. I saw that today. That's a lot at this time. For the way college football is now with the 4 wideouts and the spread and all that, to see teams that can. Usually it's quarterback driven, but there are 2 running backs. One guy's at 127 yards a game, the other guy at 94. So they got a dual threat back there.
Yeah, they do. They rotate them through there well, and the smallest one is 215. Yeah. So the other guy's 230 pounds. They got big line up front. The left tackle's over 320. The left guard's over 320. The right guard's the runt of the litter is the center, and he's 6'3", 285. So, there you go. It's not that small either. So they do a good job, and they have a big tight end. Tyrone Wheatley Jr.
He's a Giant fan. I remember his dad.
He's about 6'5", 265 pounds. So he is that big tight end that's, the attached tight end. And then they have another guy who's a preseason all-league type guy, a guy we recruited out of Connecticut when he was coming out, Cale Daniels. He's more of that H-back. He's kind of a Bell type guy, to be honest with you, size-wise and so on. And they do a good job. And on defense, they're going to load the box because, they probably have the mindset of stopping the run on defense as well, because that's what they see all the time in spring practice and in preseason practice going against their own offense. So they're going to load up the box, 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. They have a safety, E.J. Finneran, who is more of a glorified linebacker, but he's listed as their whip, which is kind of a safety position in our terminology. And they're good. They're big and physical and aggressive.
With the one loss to Air Force, so they lost to obviously a very good team in Air Force, and then the big win. Obviously, I guess you start looking at games within the league. A 36-10 win over Richmond wasn't really that wide of a score throughout the game, but that's a good solid win to start off your CAA year.
Any CAA win is a good solid win, no matter how you slice it, no matter who you're playing, and no matter how you look at it. So, yeah, we're watching them on film. We haven't played them in 3 seasons. So a lot of their guys that are, they're veterans now, we haven't really faced before. And it's hard when you don't have anything other than the film. If you play against a team, you kind of have a little bit more familiarity with them. But they're big, and we just got to be ready to go in there. And if it turns into that heavyweight fight that we kind of had with Towson, and you got to play smash mouth, then we got to be able to step up and do that. And we also got to basically run our offense, execute our defense, tackle well. These guys aren't going to go down with arm tackles, that's for sure. Not the size that they are and the way they run. So they're big and physical. So we got to make sure we bring our feet and tackle well and wrap up and do those things from the defensive side. And then, they've done a good job in special teams. They had a blocked punt for a scoop and score already this year. And, we just got to make sure we do a good job in all 3 phases and, keep our mistakes to a minimum, and then obviously clean up our turnover situation that we had last week.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Coach Ferrante's final thoughts. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Head coach Mark Ferrante. And coaches, we look forward to Saturday back in CA play. Obviously the Towson game, back and forth, tough loss. Want to get back in the win column, obviously, in the league when you go up to Stony Brook this weekend.
Yeah, we need to get back into the correct side of the ledger, if you will. All league games left, so our approach is always going to be the same. Take them one at a time, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. I talk about this all the time. I've mentioned this a number of times, on this show and other times. We got to be concerned with what we're doing. You know what I mean? Because each team that we're facing is more than capable of knocking you off or winning the game. No matter who you play in our league, no matter what the records are, those types of things. You just got to make sure you go in and take care of what you're trying to do. So we try to focus on that. We're aware of our opponent. We're respectful of our opponent. But we have to be more concerned with the execution of our offense, defense, and special teams. And if we handle that in a good way, it almost doesn't matter who we're playing. I think we could make some good things happen.
All right, Coach, well, best of luck. We'll see you Saturday night up in Long Island. We'll see everyone back here. We look forward to seeing everyone here next Tuesday for Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante from the Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill in East Norton. This wraps it up. Thanks to Joe Gaines and studio engineer Ryan Lennox. This Saturday, Cats will face the Stony Brook Seawolves. Game time is 6 o'clock. We'll be on the air with our pregame show at 5:45. For Coach Mark Ferrante, this is Steve Pannone. Have a good night. This is 610 ESPN.